Deep in the Sahara Desert, temperatures reach a blistering 120 degrees Fahrenheit. If you are stranded here without water, your body begins to cannibalize itself. Your organs shut down, your brain hallucinates, and your blood becomes so thick it turns to sludge. In 1994, an elite Olympic-level athlete found himself utterly lost in this endless ocean of sand. By day 7, completely out of his mind with thirst, his body reached the absolute breaking point. Dehydrated, exhausted, and losing consciousness, he collapsed into the burning sand, fully expecting never to wake up again. But what happened next defies logic. He didn't die. Because he was so severely dehydrated, his blood was too thick to flow properly, slowing his heart rate to a near dormant crawl. His body went into a state of extreme metabolic preservation. It literally refused to shut down. Hours later, he opened his eyes, stood up, and kept walking. This is the unbelievable story of the hardest foot race on Earth, a catastrophic mistake, and the absolute limits of human survival. Mauro Prosperi was an Italian police officer and an Olympic pentathlete. He was in peak physical condition, and he wanted a challenge. So he signed up for the Marathon des Sables, widely considered the toughest foot race on the planet. The rules are simple but brutal. You must run 156 miles across the Moroccan Sahara Desert over 6 days. You carry all your own food, sleeping gear, and medical supplies in a heavy backpack. The organizers only provide water at specific checkpoints. If you miss a checkpoint, you are in serious trouble. For the first 3 days, Mauro was dominating. He was passing competitors and feeling invincible. But the Sahara does not care how fit you are. On day 4, the environment turned entirely against him. A massive, violent sandstorm swept across the desert. The sky turned black. The wind howled at 50 miles per hour, blasting Mauro with sand that felt like shards of glass. The visibility dropped to 0. Mauro tied a scarf over his face and kept moving, assuming the storm would pass quickly. That was his first fatal mistake. The storm raged for 8 agonizing hours. When the winds finally died down, Mauro looked around. The desert had completely changed. Every footprint, every marker, and every runner was gone. The storm had wiped the landscape clean, like a chalkboard. He checked his compass. He thought he knew which way to go, but disoriented by the storm, he made a 180-degree error. Instead of running toward the next checkpoint, Mauro began running directly into the deepest, most desolate part of the Sahara. He was running straight into Algeria. By the next morning, he realized his mistake. He was totally alone. He had only half a bottle of water left. The temperature was climbing toward 118 degrees. To survive, Mauro had to resort to desperate measures. He began catching small desert insects, extracting whatever moisture he could to keep going. But it wasn't enough. The dehydration was setting in, and his body was beginning the slow process of shutting down. On his 3rd day lost, hallucinating and stumbling, Mauro saw a miracle. Sitting entirely alone in the endless dunes was an abandoned Marabout shrine, a small Muslim tomb used by nomads. He collapsed inside the shade of the stone walls. It offered protection from the blistering sun, but Mauro was running on empty. In a desperate bid for survival, he scanned the dark ceiling and discovered a colony of bats. Using his basic survival instinct, he managed to catch them, utilizing every single drop of moisture he could extract to keep his throat from closing completely. Later that day, a rescue helicopter flew directly over the shrine. Mauro ran outside screaming and waving his bright yellow sleeping bag. The helicopter banked. It came closer. Mauro thought he was saved, but the pilot never saw him. The helicopter turned around and disappeared over the horizon. That was the crushing psychological blow. Mauro had no water, his physical strength was completely gone, and his rescue had literally flown away. He knew that survival in these conditions was mathematically impossible. Inside the quiet dark of the ancient shrine, he carved a final message to his family into the stone wall. He laid down on the cool floor, closed his eyes, and let go, fully accepting that the end had come. But he woke up the next morning. His severe dehydration had caused his vital signs to drop so low that his body had essentially entered a deep state of hibernation. His heart kept beating slow and steady. His body simply refused to quit. Taking this as a definitive sign that he was meant to live, Mauro pulled himself up. He packed his bag. He decided that if he was going to go down, he was going to go down fighting. He picked a direction and started walking. For 2 more days, he marched. He pushed through the pain, consuming anything that could offer basic nutrients or moisture. He lost 35 pounds of body weight. He looked like a walking skeleton, but his mind remained entirely focused. On the 9th day of his ordeal, 181 miles off the racecourse and deep inside Algeria, Mauro saw a young girl tending a flock of sheep. He stumbled toward her. Astonished by the sight of this emaciated, sunburned man, she ran to a nearby camp of nomadic Tuareg people. The nomads took him in. They gave him goat's milk and tea and eventually handed him over to the medical teams. Mauro had survived 9 days in the deadliest desert on Earth, traveling nearly 200 miles against all mathematical odds. Most people would never look at a desert again. But Mauro Prosperi is not most people. A few years later, fully recovered, he returned to Morocco and finished the Marathon des Sables. His story is the ultimate proof that the human machine is built to survive, even when it is pushed to the absolute edge.